Travel gone wrong. What's the one trip you'll never forget? Story 1. Madagascar. Middle of the night. Emergency situation, had to get to the capital ASAP, so we grabbed this overnight bus like a bunch of sleep-deprived geniuses who thought we knew the country inside out. We'd been working there for months, felt seasoned, street smart, untouchable. Yeah, that confidence aged like milk. Normally we used this trusted bus company, but nope, not that night. We were in a rush, saw a decent-looking bus, flashed a fat wad of cash. Real smooth move, basically announcing to the universe, "Hello, criminals, we are loaded and stressed." Even paid extra so he'd leave immediately, instead of waiting to fill seats. In hindsight, that was the exact moment the horror movie music should have started. Around 2 a.m., we roll through a big city, and suddenly this driver veers off the main road into the south side slums. Not just rough, like genuinely dangerous, the kind of place locals warn you about in hushed voices. He says it's because of protesters. Protesters. In a country where protests are rare as unicorns. Meanwhile, we're bouncing along what isn't even a road anymore, just sandy footpaths barely wide enough for the bus. I'm staring at Google Maps thinking, cool, this is how I die. Lost in some alley nobody can pronounce. All 7 of us foreigners start whispering, running through escape plans like we're in a low-budget hostage movie. One friend completely loses it. Full meltdown, yelling at the driver, crying, the works. I'm sitting there thinking, please stop antagonizing the man who currently controls our fate, but also secretly grateful someone had the guts to go nuclear. Then she calls this random cop she knew. Pretty sure they hooked up months earlier, which is honestly the most absurd lifeline imaginable, and puts him on speaker. Asks if there are protests. The cop says, no, none. That's when my blood turned to ice, like actual physical cold. Driver starts acting confused, playing dumb. Okay, we go back. And slowly, painfully, we crawl back toward the main road at like 5 kilometers an hour. When we finally hit pavement again, I swear, it looked like the gates of heaven. I have never loved asphalt more in my entire life. To this day, I still don't know what the hell that was. Maybe he panicked. Maybe he had bad information. Maybe he was taking us straight to his buddies to rob us and realized we were too loud, too scared, too much trouble. Who knows? All I know is every time I think about that night, I still get chills. That feeling never really leaves you. Story 2. Bangkok, 1991. First time out of the country, young and cocky, thinking I was basically Indiana Jones with a backpack and zero common sense. Met this friendly Thai couple my very first day. Super nice, smiling, welcoming, the whole deal. Invited me to a street festival, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Cultural experience. Let's go. What could possibly go wrong? Famous last words. We start weaving through these alleys, getting farther and farther from anything that looked remotely touristy. My gut did that little warning twitch, but I brushed it off because I figured I could handle myself. Real tough guy logic right there. Then they say they need to stop at a shop real quick. We walk in, and suddenly there are 4 massive dudes inside, built like brick walls, and 1 girl. Whole vibe shifted instantly, like the air got heavier. It was blazing hot outside, so the girl hands me a Coke. I could literally see the fizz, like it had just been opened. I wasn't even drinking soda at the time, but I took a polite sip. That tiny sip saved my life. Within seconds, my head started going fuzzy, and I knew, oh hell, I just got drugged. So I played dumb. Smile, small talk, inching sideways toward the door like I'm browsing invisible merchandise. Heart pounding so loud I swear they could hear it. Then the second I had a gap, I bolted, just ran, stumbling down the street, legs turning to jelly already, vision getting weird. They followed me for a bit, but it was too public. Too many people watching, and I guess they figured I wasn't an easy target anymore. I went straight to the police, shaking, still half drugged, and they laughed. Literally laughed. Wouldn't even come with me when I said I could show them exactly where it happened. Like I was some dumb tourist telling ghost stories. Back at my hotel, still trying to process the whole nightmare, I see this sign posted in the lobby. Family looking for their son, missing. Last seen in the exact same area. Yeah, that trip stuck with me. You don't forget something like that. Story 3. Buenos Aires, April this year. Palermo district. Supposed to be this cute little artsy neighborhood, right? Cafes, murals, wine bars. Pinterest nonsense. Instead, I somehow wandered into the wrong damn street at the wrong damn time because of course I did. Next thing I know, boom, group of guys surround me. Young dudes, late teens, early 20s, acting tough like they're auditioning for a low-budget crime show. I got jumped, knee snapped. Like, actually broken, not ouch, I tweaked it broken. Head got smashed, stars everywhere. Whole cartoon situation. And here's the part that still messes with me. After it went too far, a couple of them suddenly got weirdly concerned. Like, oh crap, we might have killed this tourist energy. So part of the same gang literally walked me back to my hostel. Yeah, the same dudes who beat me up, escorting me home like some messed up Uber service. I laugh about it now because what else am I gonna do? Cry forever. But yeah, that night lives rent-free in my brain. PTSD is a hell of a souvenir. Story 4. First month in China. Fresh expat energy. Still figuring out where to buy toothpaste and how not to embarrass myself in public. I'm out with a group of friends. Long-term teachers, seasoned Asia vets, people who actually knew what they were doing. Or so we thought. Some random guy starts accusing my buddy of hating China. Out of nowhere. Just drops it like a grenade in the middle of the bar. Now this friend of mine, dude, loved China. Half Chinese, spoke the language, ate the food, defended the place constantly. So he stands up, all righteous and offended, and goes, "How dare you say I fucking hate China? Here's the problem. How dare you is apparently some advanced Shakespeare-level English in that setting because all anyone heard was, I fucking hate China. And that was it. Instant chaos. Like someone flipped the riot switch. 40 people jumped to their feet at the same time, screaming, shouting, chairs scraping, bottles flying. I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this escalated from casual drinks to international incident in about 3 seconds flat. We bolt for the door while the crowd surges after us, security getting shoved aside like traffic cones. At one point, I genuinely wondered if pitchforks were about to show up. Would not have surprised me. We ran into the night like cartoon villains escaping a mob scene, hearts pounding, adrenaline through the roof. All because of one misunderstood sentence. I lived in Asia for 9 years. 9 peaceful, boring, wonderful years. And somehow, the most dangerous moment happened in my very first month, courtesy of the English language doing me absolutely zero favors. Story 5. Palermo, Sicily. Cute little night out, couple drinks, nothing crazy. I was with this group of Irish folks I'd just met. Solid people, loud as hell, hilarious, the kind who adopt you after 5 minutes and suddenly you're family. We're at this bar, music blasting, everyone laughing, and I'm thinking, wow, this is exactly the kind of travel memory you hope for. Then somewhere between one drink and the next, things got weird. Like, really weird. My head started swimming way faster than it should have, vision going fuzzy, body feeling heavy, and I remember thinking, hold up, I didn't even drink that much. That cold realization hits, oh crap, I've been drugged, fantastic, love that for me. Next thing I know, there's this random guy hovering, way too interested, trying to convince me to leave with him, saying he'd take care of me, which is about the least comforting sentence you can hear when you can barely stand. I'm half conscious, brain screaming danger, while my body's basically offline. Thank God for the Irish crew. They clocked what was happening immediately. Stepped in, blocked the guy, full protective mode. There was yelling, shoving, proper confrontation, the whole scene. They refused to let him get anywhere near me and basically guarded me like bouncers until I was safe. I still think about how close that came to going sideways. One different group of people, one moment alone, and who knows where I would have ended up. Instead, I walked away with a brutal hangover, a stolen wallet, and a lifelong appreciation for loud Irish strangers who don't mess around. Story 6. I got held up at gunpoint once, not in some sketchy back alley in a war zone, not in a country everyone warns you about. Nope, London. Freaking London. The place with double-decker buses and overpriced sandwiches. That's where it happened. What gets me is I'd traveled all over. Places people love to label dangerous. Backpacking, late-night buses, random border towns, zero problems. I got comfortable, too comfortable. Started thinking I had this travel thing figured out. Turns out, complacency is undefeated. I wandered into a rough part of the city. Definitely not tourist territory. The kind of neighborhood where even the streetlights look nervous. Guy steps out, pulls a gun, real casual, like he's asking for directions. My brain just went weirdly calm. No heroics, no panic, just this quiet voice going, well, this is happening now. So I handed over what I had, which honestly wasn't much. Some cash, maybe enough to buy a sad airport meal. He took it and disappeared. and that was it. Whole thing probably lasted 30 seconds. The strangest part? I wasn't shaking during it. The fear hit later, creeping in while I was walking away, thinking about all the ways that could have gone worse. Wrong move, wrong mood, wrong second. And I might not have walked away at all. Bad luck. Wrong place, wrong time. That's the whole story. Story 7. Work trip to Vegas, October 2017. I flew in from Canada thinking it was going to be the usual corporate nonsense. Buffets, bad coffee, forced networking, maybe lose $50 at a slot machine and call it character building. Totally normal trip, or so I thought. The night I landed, I went for dinner up on the Strip near New York, New York. Nothing fancy, just eating, people watching, soaking in the neon chaos. Then, all of a sudden, I start seeing cop cars screaming past, sirens non-stop. EMS, police cruisers. More than I'd ever seen in one place. It felt off, but Vegas is always loud and dramatic, so I figured maybe it was a fight or some club shooting. Sad, but not exactly unheard of. Later, I'm in the hotel elevator, and these Irish guys are talking about a shooting. Again, I brushed it off. Thought it was some localized incident. Went to bed like an idiot, completely unaware of what was actually unfolding a few blocks away. Then, 5 a.m. hits. My phone is basically having a meltdown. 20 missed calls. My fiance, friends, even my SVP from work blowing me up asking, "Are you okay?" That's when the pit dropped into my stomach. I turn on the TV, and suddenly, the whole world makes sense in the worst possible way. Mass shooting. Dozens dead. Hundreds injured. The scale of it was just unreal. And I'm sitting there in a hotel room, realizing I'd been right there on the Strip while it was happening, completely clueless. That delayed realization messes with you. You keep replaying it, same city, same night, just a few blocks away, and thinking about how thin the line really is between normal life and absolute chaos. Story 8. I've got a bunch of travel horror stories, but this one still makes my blood pressure spike just thinking about it. We were doing a day trip in Georgia, cruising along the Georgian military highway. Beautiful scenery, mountains, dramatic views. The whole postcard situation. You know, the kind of road where one wrong move sends you straight into the afterlife. Anyway, we're in this van with a local driver. Everything seems normal. Then out of nowhere, the vehicle starts drifting, not swerving, not braking, just slowly sliding sideways like we're in some low-budget disaster movie. Turns out the guy had literally fallen asleep at the wheel, just nodded off, mid-drive. On a mountain highway. Fantastic. The sound of us smashing into the median finally wakes him up, and he jerks the wheel the other direction like a man possessed. We narrowly miss oncoming cars purely by dumb luck and end up rattling onto the shoulder. Everyone's silent, hearts pounding, that weird, stunned quiet where your brain is still catching up to the fact you almost died 5 seconds ago. And then, this is the part that still blows my mind. This man turns around and blames us. Says it's our fault because we asked for the AC to be turned on. Claims the cool air makes him sleepy. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Next time we'll just sit there sweating to death so you can stay conscious while operating the 2-ton metal death box on a cliff road. I swear, sometimes survival comes down to pure luck and one very loud screeching noise. Story 9. This was after a several-day boat ride up the Amazon, like proper jungle travel, hammocks strung up, sweaty, sleep-deprived, feeling adventurous and slightly feral. We finally roll into this border town between Brazil and Colombia, Tabatinga/Leticia, and I'm thinking, sweet, civilization again, time for a shower and a cold drink. Checked into a hostel on the Colombian side and met some other travelers. Friendly crowd, good vibes, everyone swapping stories like we were in some backpacker sitcom. We head out for drinks, and at some point we run into this guy they supposedly knew. You know that classic line? Oh yeah, he's cool. Famous last words, apparently. After that, everything turns into static. Just these weird, glitchy flashes in my memory. Being inside some random house I definitely didn't choose to go to. Stumbling down a street like my brain was running on dial-up internet. No control, no clear thoughts, just fog. Then, nothing. Next thing I know, I wake up in my hostel bed the next morning, fully clothed, head pounding, brain scrambled, with this deep, sick feeling that something was very wrong. I had zero memory of how I got back. None. Like someone cut a chunk out of my timeline. So I asked the hostel to check their security cameras. They show me this footage of a random couple pulling up on a moped, basically delivering me like lost luggage. I get off, walk inside with this blank zombie stare, and head to my room. Watching yourself on camera doing something you don't remember is one of the creepiest experiences imaginable. Still gives me chills thinking about it. Story 10. I was 20, studying abroad in Paris, feeling very grown up and adventurous, and wildly overconfident for someone who still got lost on the metro twice a week. My roommate never wanted to travel, so I decided to do this cute little solo weekend in a charming small town a few hours away. You know, cobblestone streets, cafes, romantic vibes. That was the fantasy. Reality? Absolute nightmare from the jump. Apparently this town had a massive neo-Nazi scene, which, fun fact, was not mentioned in any of the travel brochures. I show up at the hotel where I had a reservation, dragging all my luggage, tired, alone, and the front desk just refuses to give me a room. No explanation, just cold stares and vibes that screamed, "You're not welcome here." I couldn't prove it, but being a person of color definitely felt like part of the equation. So now I'm wandering around this unfamiliar town with all my stuff, pre-smartphone era, no Google Maps, no Wi-Fi, just vibes and rising panic. At some point, I'm sitting in a park trying to figure out my next move when this creepy guy comes up and straight up offers me money for sex. Like, "Sir, read the room." I already look stressed and homeless. This is not the time. Finally find another hotel, barely holding it together, and I'm walking back there later when a group of skinheads surrounds me, shoving, yelling, getting in my face. I spoke French pretty well, but in that moment my brain just froze. I couldn't process a single word. Pure fear, tunnel vision, heart hammering like I was about to pass out. Then out of nowhere, this random man appears, calmly loops his arm through mine like we're old friends, and just walks with me. No drama, no confrontation, just steady, confident energy. The group backs off almost immediately. He stays with me until they lose interest, and then, no joke, he disappears into the crowd before I can even properly thank him. To this day, I still think about that moment. Maybe he was just a decent stranger who saw someone in trouble. Maybe he was my guardian angel. Either way, that trip scared me so badly, I didn't travel alone internationally again for 18 years. Story 11. I've had a few travel moments where I genuinely thought, well, this is it. This is how my story ends, face down in some remote corner of the planet while my family argues with an insurance company. The worst one was in Peru, deep in Manu National Park. Days into a canoe trip in the Amazon. Proper middle of nowhere stuff. No roads, no hospitals, just jungle, bugs, humidity, and the constant feeling that everything around you is either poisonous or hungry. Then I got bit by a snake. Not a dramatic movie scene either. Just this sudden sharp pain, confusion, and that slow creeping realization that, oh no, this is very bad. We were days from real medical help. I remember thinking, cool, I'm about to die because I wanted an authentic nature experience. Great life choice. What saved me was this local village nearby. They had some kind of traditional antidote, herbal, indigenous medicine, whatever you want to call it. And they treated me right there in the jungle. I'm alive because of them. Full stop. Modern hospitals were nowhere in reach, and those people knew exactly what they were doing. And apparently, I didn't learn my lesson, because years later, I was mountaineering in Nepal on Amadablam, pushing above 20,000 feet like an idiot chasing adventure points. Ended up with HACE, high-altitude cerebral edema, which is basically your brain swelling inside your skull. Not ideal. I was confused, stumbling, barely functioning, one bad step away from falling off a mountain and becoming a cautionary tale. So yeah, I've had a couple trips go sideways. Snake bite in the Amazon, brain swelling in the Himalayas. Turns out the world is beautiful, but it is also very, very good at trying to kill you if you give it the chance. Story 12. My girlfriend and I got robbed by the police in Santa Marta, Colombia. Not pickpocketed, not mugged. Straight up shaken down by guys in uniform. That's the kind of story you tell later and people think you're exaggerating, but nope, 100% real. And my heart still speeds up thinking about it. We actually knew the area was a little sketchy, so we did everything right. Left valuables at the hotel, carried just my phone and a tiny bit of cash. We even counted our money before stopping for margaritas, making sure we had just enough for 2 drinks. Responsible tourists, look at us, making good decisions. Yeah, that preparation lasted about 10 minutes. On the walk back to the hotel, 2 cops roll up on a motorcycle, lights flashing, all official looking. They pull us over, shove us against a wall, start searching our pockets like we're hardened criminals. Then suddenly, surprise, They find a bag of cocaine. News to me. I'm standing there thinking, wow, this is either a joke or the worst night of my life. They make it very clear. Give them money and the problem disappears. Classic corruption move. Only problem is, we literally had about $3 left between us. Not exactly cartel level funds. So now it turns into this bizarre standoff. They threaten jail. Threaten my girlfriend with jail. Try to drag us to an ATM, even though they already searched us and knew we didn't have a debit card. It felt like a bad movie where the villains didn't fully think through the plot. Then out of nowhere, chaos erupts down the street. Some kind of fight. Guys chasing another guy, yelling, running straight toward us. The cops turn their heads for 1 second, and we just bolt. No discussion, no plan, pure survival instinct. We literally ran from the police in Colombia like we were in an action scene. Jumped into the first taxi we saw, ducked down in the back seat, hearts pounding out of our chests. Of course, we had no money to pay the driver. Perfect ending to a perfect evening. So we begged him to wait while we ran inside the hotel to grab cash. I came back down, tipped the guy like he just saved our lives, which honestly, he kind of did, and asked him not to mention a word of what happened. We spent the next 2 days laying low, keeping our heads down, counting the hours until departure. Somehow, I walked away with my phone, my last $3, and a story that still sounds ridiculous when I tell it. And weirdly, I still loved Colombia. Beautiful country, amazing people. I'd go back in a heartbeat. Just maybe keep a slightly closer eye on the uniforms next time. Story 13. I was mountain biking in Bolivia on the infamous Death Road, which in hindsight should have been my first clue that maybe this was not the place to get cocky. Gorgeous scenery, sheer cliffs, zero guardrails. Basically Mother Nature daring you to mess up. And of course, I did. Hit a patch of loose gravel like an absolute genius, lost traction, and wiped out hard. The bike slid, I slid, everything just skidding sideways in slow motion. Then suddenly I stop, dead still. I look up, and there's nothing in front of me except open air and this massive, bottomless-looking cliff, like cartoon-level drop. I was literally inches from going over. My heart went from 0 to nuclear in about half a second. That cold electric jolt where your brain goes, wow, you almost just died because you didn't respect gravel. Fantastic. I messed up my knee pretty badly, huge bruise, throbbing pain, but somehow nothing was broken. Adrenaline carried me the rest of the way down the trail, though I rode the rest of it like a grandma driving in a snowstorm. Ever since then, I pay obsessive attention to trail surfaces. Gravel, sand, mud. I treat all of it like it's personally trying to kill me, because honestly, that day, it almost did. Story 14. Dublin. I was 22, traveling solo, feeling very independent and worldly, like I had my life together because I could navigate public transit and order a beer without panicking. I'm staying in this hostel, and they give me a room with 4 bunk beds, but I'm the only person in it. At first, I'm thrilled. Private room for the price of a dorm? Luxury. Fast forward to 2:30 in the morning. I wake up to the sound of people messing with the door handle. Half asleep, confused, thinking maybe someone's at the wrong room. Then suddenly, click, the keycard works, and the door swings open, and 5 very drunk construction workers literally tumble into the room like a clown car disaster. Loud, stumbling, smelling like beer and bad decisions. And that's the exact moment my brain goes, oh cool, this is how I die in a hostel in Ireland. I'm lying there in the dark, frozen, heart pounding, doing the fastest risk assessment of my life. Young woman, alone, 5, intoxicated strangers who clearly were not expecting me to be there either. The hostel had just put us all in the same room. No warning, no heads up, nothing. To their credit, once they realized I was there, they were mostly confused and embarrassed. But that didn't stop the adrenaline from flooding my system. I barely slept the rest of the night, just staring at the ceiling, waiting for sunrise like it was a rescue helicopter. All these years later, I still double-check the lock on every hostel door. Some lessons stick. Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you've got a wild story, share it below, hit like, subscribe, and come back for more real-life chaos and unbelievable moments.